Hey guys, it's your girl Yum Yum, and I'm coming to you live from home. Yes, welcome to Yem's World. Thank you so much for watching. So I know you guys have seen that we kind of changed the setting a little bit. As much as I really like the outside and I like recording outside, it's getting kind of cold, so we had to find some other options. So we'll be playing around with different settings, so just kind of bear with us. And if you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the video, and when you do subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Alright guys, let's get in. In the last video, I talked about the birth. What? It was amazing how everything happened. It was awesome. And really, honestly guys, it was a story of restoration. God really used this second birth to just show me that He was very much involved from the beginning, and it was just an awesome story of restoration. So that was very exciting. Now, you know, they say hindsight is 20/20, and as I look back on the whole process of both births, I realized that God was absolutely all, up and through this whole process. Like He was totally a part of it all. In fact, I call it strategic positioning. I see that God was strategically positioning certain events and certain occurrences and certain things and certain people. He was strategically putting those things in place. And, as I look back now, I'm like, oh, I get it. I understand. I get it now. So let's just go through a few of those because they're pretty awesome. So the first thing was, this really was a scripture fulfilled. It really, really was a scripture fulfilled. In Exodus chapter 1, verse 19, it says, we are not like the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are vigorous and they give birth before the midwives arrive. Another version says, they're not like the Egyptian women. They're vigorous, and the midwives don't have enough time to get there before they give birth. Something to that effect. Okay, so anyway, that's exactly what happened. Like, it was awesome because, throughout the whole pregnancy, I probably saw like 6 different midwives and doctors who were all part of the practice that I was using. And so all of them, most of them didn't have a positive report about, this birth. And so God made sure, when we were on our way to the hospital, actually before we went to the hospital from church, I had a friend, she said, call your doctor, call your doctor, call your doctor. And so we got in the car and I was like trying to call her, but I just didn't really feel like the release to. And then my husband, like I think I called the office. It was a Sunday, they were closed, nobody answered, and I was like, I'm not even going to try again. So we got to the hospital. By the time we got to the hospital, they did page her or whatever. But she had just been at the hospital. She had just done a C-section, and so she went home to rest. And I think she had another one scheduled later on. So she had just went home to take a little break, and then we came in, gave birth. They paged her, and as soon as the baby came out, I'm talking like within no more than 5 minutes. No more than 5 minutes, she arrived, and I'm like, nah, honey. It's done. It's done. So God held her back. He literally held her back to make sure that she wasn't there because, like I said, they were all saying that, I was probably going to have another C-section. And I think that's what they were like putting me down for. So God made sure He was like, no, you guys are not going to be there. Strategic position. Now the second thing I see was the due date. The due date, my due date was in September, mid-September, and I ended up having the baby in August, like a month earlier. And so, personally, I think He used this due date to close everybody's eyes, including mine. So literally when, I was having all the signs that I was about to give birth, and I had absolutely no clue. I did not know, because to me in my head I'm like, no, it's September, it's September, it's September. So all of the signs they didn't even click. It didn't even click to me. And I think God did it that way so that I would, like for example, it was on a Sunday. Like if I knew I was about to give birth, I probably wouldn't have gone to church that day. I probably, on that Sunday, I was leading a part of the service. I was taking an exam. Like I was doing all of these things that I probably wouldn't have done if I knew I was about to give birth. But because I didn't know, because I just kept thinking, well, this is, I'm 36 weeks, like, I can't be having a baby now, like, it's not my due date yet. So, literally, God, I believe that He used that due date to cover my eyes as well as everybody else's. So I would just keep doing what I was doing, and then He would have His way completely. And so that was pretty awesome. So the next thing was the fact that it was so public. I believe that God wanted it to be seen. I believe He wanted to show Himself. He wanted to show somebody, I don't know, whoever was present that day, He wanted to show somebody that He was still in the business, and He is still in the business of doing miracles. It was such a public experience. Like I said, it was on a Sunday. Like my previous birth was on a Saturday, and things started for that birth the Sunday before, like after church. That's when I started to feel my contractions. So I had literally that whole week, and nobody knew what was going on except for us, my husband and I, my mother-in-law, and my family members. Other than that, nobody knew what was going on. But this time, it was on a Sunday. I was at church. Like I said, I led part of the service. Like, I literally was in front of the whole congregation. Like, everybody saw things progressing. Everybody saw it. And I just really believe that God wanted to make a public, He just wanted to display this thing publicly. That Sunday was actually our youth takeover service. Our youth group at church, we were taking over the service. And so after the service, we were all supposed to go to lunch. And I was supposed to go with them, but I was like kind of having a baby. So I didn't go with them. But they were all out at lunch, and they all saw me because we took pictures after the service. And then, they headed to lunch. I headed to the hospital. So they all saw me, and then as I was leaving, as they were leaving, as I was leaving, and then we call them, like we give them a call while they're at lunch, like, hey guys, we had a baby. And then everybody's like, well, I wasn't there, but that's what they say. Everybody was like, and making noise and, doing all these things. It was a public thing, and I really believe that God wanted it to be public, and He wanted to use it to encourage somebody. I don't know who. If it's you, be encouraged. The next thing I think God really did was, I was reading this book called Mind Over Labor. And from the title, you can probably understand what it's all about. It's basically how you can sort of control, to a certain degree, right? Control the birth in your mind. So if you can visualize and just make sure put yourself in a calm state, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really agree with everything in the book. In fact, probably most of it I didn't agree with. But I was, what I really wanted to do was just kind of get in that mindset and just sort of prepare mentally for the birth. And so that's why I was reading that book. One of the things, though, that the book mentioned was that, in terms of deciding your birth location, whether it's going to be a hospital or at home or wherever you decide to have your baby, you want to make sure that, you've done your research, you've, checked the place out, you've done a tour of it, you know their statistics and, you know their policies and kind of what they do. And so I had actually already picked the hospital even before I toured it. After the first birth, I was just like, whatever, I'm giving birth to this hospital right here, and that was it. So I hadn't toured it. I didn't know any of their statistics. I didn't know anything, but this medical group that I was using, they were associated with the hospital, and I had been with them before. So I was feeling a little bit worried. I was like, oh oh man, you know, I don't know all the details. I didn't even do a tour. Like, I don't have all the statistics. I don't know their policies. Like, you know, I don't know. I hope I'm not putting myself. See, and that's what happened in the first birth. Like, I tried to control that part of it. So I use what's it called? I use a birth center, right? And at this birth center, they had the good statistics, they had this, they had that, and so I thought that was what was gonna get me to where I wanted to go. But this time I was at a hospital, and and I didn't know anything about the hospital, and I hadn't done all the research, and I thought, God literally, that hospital it could have been anywhere, honestly. Because of how fast everything happened. Like, I just zoomed in, had a baby. Like, it didn't, at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Like, it completely, none of the statistics, none of their policy, because there was no time. Like, everything happened so fast. Like, there was no time. There literally was no time for any of that to even unfold. Like, God just swooped, and like, we just rolled into the hospital, boom, had the baby, and then, policies and all those things after the fact. But I really feel like God, really, kind of did that on purpose. I feel like He just, He allowed me to use that book and read that book and kind of have these things in my mind, whereas He was just going to do something, different. He was just going to take over. And so I really feel like, He sort of strategically positioned these key things around, and, He used it to bring about this awesome supernatural childbirth. And so, honestly, it was amazing. There's so many more. I don't even have time to go through all of them. There's so many more things that I saw, that I just saw God, like, strategically positioning, people, places, things, comments, that all sort of, at the end of the day, led to this supernatural childbirth. And so it was awesome, and it was amazing, and I just give God all the glory. And so, yeah, that's the story. And in my next video, I will talk about, there's one more thing, but I wanted to give that a whole separate video. So I'll talk about another strategic positioning that God did, but I'm going to give a whole separate video for that. So, thanks for watching. Yay. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section, and share the video. Turn on the notifications so you know every time we release a video. And until next time.